Hi, and welcome to English Fabulae. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Imagine changing the world from your university room. That's kind of what Mark Zuckerberg did. He started Facebook, a website that today connects billions of people around the world. Think about it. Most people you know probably use Facebook or Instagram, and Zuckerberg is the person who made that happen. It all began when he was a student at Harvard University. He was a clever programmer, and from a simple idea, Facebook grew very fast. Suddenly, this young student became incredibly rich and famous. By the age of 23, he was already a billionaire, but it hasn't all been easy. Zuckerberg has faced problems and arguments along the way. Some people even made a movie about him called The Social Network, which showed a complicated picture of his early success. Despite the challenges, Mark Zuckerberg is still a major figure in the world of technology, leading a company that affects how we communicate and share information every day. His story is a fascinating mix of innovation, success, and controversy. Chapter 1. Young Mark's Life. Mark Zuckerberg was born on May 14, 1984. This was in White Plains, New York, a place in the United States. His full name is Mark Elliott Zuckerberg. He was born into a family with interesting jobs. His mother, Karen, was a psychiatrist. This is a doctor who helps people with their minds and feelings. His father, Edward, was a dentist. A dentist takes care of people's teeth. Mark was not the only child in his family. He grew up with 3 sisters. Their names are Ariel, Randy, and Donna. So, Mark had a busy and probably lively home with his parents and sisters. His family had a religious background. They were raised in a Reformed Jewish home. This is a type of Jewish religion. They lived in a town called Dobbs Ferry, New York. This is where Mark spent his childhood. We also know a little bit about his family history. His great-grandparents came from different countries in Europe, Austria, Germany, and Poland. This means Mark's family had roots in different parts of the world before coming to America. For his early schooling, Mark first went to Ardsley High School. This was likely close to his home in Dobbs Ferry. Later, he changed schools. He moved to Phillips Exeter Academy. This is a special kind of school called a prep school. Prep schools are known for being very good and preparing students for university. It's like a high school, but often with higher standards and more focus on getting into top colleges. Phillips Exeter Academy was not just about books for Mark. He was also active in sports. He was the captain of the fencing team. Fencing is a sport where 2 people fight with special swords. Being the captain means he was good at fencing and also a leader for his team. This shows that even in his younger years, Mark was not just interested in computers, but also in other activities and being part of a team. Even though this chapter is called Young Mark's Life, it's important to remember that these early years were the start of something very big. Growing up in a family with parents who had professional careers, being raised in a Jewish household, and going to good schools all played a part in shaping who Mark became. His time at Phillips Exeter Academy, where he was both a student and a sports leader, likely helped him develop important skills. These skills would be useful later in his life when he started creating Facebook and leading a huge company. This early part of Mark's life might seem normal in some ways, like any other child growing up with family and school. But even in these early years, there were hints of the person he would become. We know he was good at school, especially in subjects that needed thinking and problem-solving. And we know he was a leader in sports. These are all signs that Mark was a bright and capable young person, even before he became famous for Facebook. Understanding his young life helps us see where he came from and how he developed into the person who changed the world of social media. It's the foundation for the rest of his story. Chapter 2. First Steps in Coding. Mark wasn't just like other kids. While some children played with toys outside, Mark was interested in something else: computers. Even when he was very young, he wanted to know how computers worked and what they could do. This interest started in his childhood, and it became a big part of his life. Mark's parents saw his interest and helped him learn. They got him a computer and found him a tutor to teach him about programming. Programming is like giving instructions to a computer to make it do things. For Mark, It was like learning a new language, but instead of talking to people, he was talking to machines. He really enjoyed it. He was curious and wanted to create things with computers. Around the age of 11, Mark made his first program. It was called Zucknet. Think of it like a very early version of the internet, but just for his family. His father had a dental office in the same house where they lived. Zucknet was a program that allowed the computers in his house to talk to the computers in his father's office. This meant that his family could send messages to each other, even if they were in different parts of the house. It was a simple program, but it was important because it was something Mark created himself. It showed his early skill in making computers communicate. As Mark got older, his computer skills became even better. When he was in high school, he worked on a more complex project. He wanted to make a music player. But this wasn't just any music player. He called it Synapse Media Player. What made Synapse special was that it was smart. It used something called machine learning. This is a way for computers to learn from data without being directly told what to do every time. Synapse Media Player would learn what kind of music Mark liked to listen to. It would watch his listening habits. For example, if Mark always skipped a certain type of song or listened to other songs repeatedly, Synapse would notice. Then, it would use this information to guess what music Mark might want to hear next. It was like a music player that understood your taste and could suggest songs you would enjoy. This was quite advanced for a high school student to create. People in the tech world started to notice Mark's talent. His Synapse Media Player was posted on a website called Slashdot. Slashdot was a popular website for people interested in technology. It was like a place where people shared and discussed interesting tech news and projects. Synapse got a rating on Slashdot, which meant people were looking at it and giving their opinions. PC Magazine, a well-known computer magazine, also reviewed Synapse. They gave it a rating of 3 out of 5 stars. This was a good score and showed that even experts thought Mark's music player was interesting and well-made. It was a big achievement for a young programmer. Someone from a famous magazine called The New Yorker said something interesting about Mark. They said, "Some kids played computer games. Mark created them." This simple sentence really explains Mark's passion and skill. He wasn't just using computers to play games. He was using them to build games and other software. He was a creator, not just a user. He was always thinking about how to make new things with computers. Even while he was still in high school, Mark was so advanced in computers that he took a graduate-level computer course at Mercy College. This is like taking university classes while you were still in high school. He went to these classes on Thursday evenings. This showed how serious he was about learning more about computers and how much he was ahead of other students his age. These early experiences with coding were very important for Mark. He started young, he learned quickly, and he was always creating new things. From Zucknet to Synapse Media Player, these projects were like building blocks. They gave him the skills and the confidence to do even bigger things later in his life. These first steps in coding were the beginning of his journey to becoming a successful programmer and businessman. They showed that even as a young person, Mark had a special talent and a strong drive to create with computers. This early passion would eventually lead him to create something that would change the world. Facebook. Chapter 3. College and Trouble. After high school, Mark went to a famous university called Harvard. Harvard is in the city of Cambridge near Boston in the state of Massachusetts. He started university in 2002. Even before he arrived at Harvard, people knew Mark was very good at computers. Someone from a magazine called The New Yorker even said that when other kids played computer games, Mark made them. He had a reputation.